In part 5 of Breaking Bob, we're going through recent statements by Bob Iger, the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, right before Elon Musk made his own controversial statements about Bob Iger. When Iger got grilled on ESPN, he had some choice words for one of Disney's largest investors. And no, it wasn't Nelson Peltz. We're going to talk about that here on That Park Place. ESPN is a segment of the Walt Disney Company that has provided a lifeboat to other less profitable businesses. In the next few years, Bob Iger plans to move ESPN to a streaming model akin to Disney Plus or even Hulu at somewhere near twice the cost to consumers, all while the sports league want price tags nearing half the entire value of the Walt Disney Company to secure streaming rights. To achieve this, Disney is courting companies 5 times their size as partners. Is that a good or bad idea? Let's talk about that.
It's problematic because, sure, in the short term, that may provide a vast array of income, but long term, the brand damage, the risk of that is just tremendous. I mean, nobody wants to think of a company that takes you from all kinds of vices for your children on Disney Plus straight into their teenage years where they can get on all kinds of new vices with the gambling system of ESPN.
Or a Vegas-style sports book at the ESPN things at the parks.
That's right.
By the way, Walt was into sports, as anyone who's seen Mickey's Polo Team, the famous all-star Hollywood cartoon, would say. But somehow I don't think they're making book on polo these days.
I believe Ron Miller was he was a
football player
for the LA Rams, and I believe Walt Disney actually attended one of those games, saw him get beat up, and said, "You got to get out of this." So he was, he wasn't adverse to it for sure. But on the gambling thing specifically, I mean, I remember when Disney was getting into the cruise line business, and people asked, "Well, are you going to have slot machines in your cruise lines?" And they were like, "No, we're not all about that."
What do you
that
want to bet?
That would have been an Eisner decision to keep them to preserve the Disney brand.
Absolutely.
You want to bet that the big one they bought that was half finished and was going broke that they're going to put in Asia will have a casino?
That's a very good question.
If anybody gambles, it's people over there. My God, they make everybody in Vegas look like amateurs.
I suspect, I would wager that it will have a casino.
Yeah.
Good phrasing. All right, let's continue so that we can get to even more inaccuracies.
Love sports.
Correct.
Sports is just phenomenal entertainment form, as unpredictable as it gets, and it's interesting.
And the sports leagues don't go on strike for long periods of time.
In today's world, with as many choices as people have, look at how sports has stood tall in a sea of unbelievable choice.
It's a great thing that he's said that, by the way, while Colin Kaepernick is no longer deteriorating the audience of the NFL.
I want to ask you about the deal that you say you're trying to negotiate, and there's lots of news reports about different folks, leagues you're talking to, technology you're talking to about getting a minority investment in here. This is Rich Greenfield, who asked the following. He says, "We do not understand how any of these investment ideas, would solve ESPN's number one problem. The cost of sports rights is rising faster than revenues."
By the way, Rich Greenfield is from Lightshed. They actually get to ask questions on a lot of the shareholders' calls. Lightshed seems to have good analysis in general.
Period. Sure, there could be excitement about one or more of them overpaying to own a piece of ESPN, he says, but that does not improve ESPN's long-term financial prospects. What could you do to change the economics of this?
First of all, sports, as I mentioned, is very unique in today's world.
He's about to say the same thing that he just said before.
And I have the answer to that question.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Well, if you do, as they've talked about, a deal with Amazon or a deal with another one of the big people that otherwise would be bidding against you for the rights to the NFL or whatever, you limit the competition for those rights, which means the prices won't go up as fast as they've been going. The people getting rich on these rights are these leagues because they have a lot of people who want them and a lot of people are willing to compete with each other over them. So if you reduce the competitors by teaming up, ipso facto, you lower the expense.
YouTube just signed a deal with the NFL for NFL Sunday Ticket for $14 billion in a 7-year deal to about $2 billion a season. I mean, these prices are going up extremely fast. It's not a bad question.
You think about entertainment forms that have an ability to basically bring the world together en masse at one moment. Tell me what's better than sports to do that. Just look at ratings, and you look at the top, I don't know how many television shows in history, every one of them is the Super Bowl.
He's absolutely right. This also speaks to the deterioration in quality of scripted entertainment in general and the segmentation of the market from streaming.
It's the sports version of reality shows.
Yes, that's a very good point. That human element that might also be missing from some scripted entertainment.
Sports has better drama than scripted entertainment.
True.
People love sports, and we have an unbelievably unique position in the world of sports, particularly television sports, in ESPN, with a great brand and a true aggregator of sports, and a business that convenes people in an unbelievably impactful way. We want to stay in that business. It is a
He literally hasn't said anything to answer the question whatsoever. He hasn't addressed the economics at all. He's just kind of talking around it.
I think they said $80 billion for the rights to the NBA, and we're over here wondering about how they're going to get $20 billion. Obviously, ESPN will continue to need to function, and they're paying a lot already. So this is an increase there. As sports are understanding, as he's praising sports, the sports leagues are the ones that are understanding just how good they've got it. They've got something that continues to maintain value in a world where people are turning away from scripted content for danger.
And the way these sports leagues work, as I understand it, is they divvy up that money pretty evenly between all the teams, which means the last place team that didn't have the money to spend to recruit the top prospects in the next draft or whatever is getting as much as the number one that's spending 10 times as much on their payrolls.
Yeah, just to Jonas's point too there, remember the question was how do you make the economics of it work where people are overpaying for the rights to these sports deals? The revenue isn't matching up to how much you're paying for it. And all he's doing is he's just saying the sports is so great. And he's almost he's doing the opposite. He's inflating.
Well, what he's not saying is we raise the price of advertising because he doesn't want to scare those guys off.
Right. And this is why he would want to partner with someone like Amazon or Apple or even Microsoft, which, by the way, Hugh Johnston is also on the board of Microsoft. Mason Morfitt, who is an activist investor with Value Act, he was formerly on the board of Microsoft and was an activist investor over there at Microsoft. So the ties to Microsoft are increasing, while there's also rumors, of course, of Amazon. And Apple is continuously in the rumor mill about Disney because of Iger's former ties to Steve Jobs, may he rest in peace, an actual honest man. And
Totally so.
Here we are looking at all these people with deep pockets. While Disney is 150 to 200 billion on a very good day. These are companies that are in the $1 trillion valuation range that he's talking with.
Right.
The next question would be if Walmart decides they want to get into the sports business, these huge companies that have a lot of sway, if they decide that they want to partner with Disney and be another mega brand and back Disney's play in order to do this.
You know what you said about Steve Jobs being an honest man brings to mind the following possible hypothesis. Do you think any of these other companies, if all of the excrement hits the aerator over this Reedy Creek stuff and criminal charges are filed, will say, okay, we'll make a deal, but as long as that guy isn't the boss anymore because he's poison, we don't want the reputational damage.
Right, you're absolutely, and that's the danger of having someone at that level that is able to make these kind of decisions. Okay, we'll talk about the Reedy Creek thing in a little bit.
I'm just saying, if that had happened, would Jobs have ever sold him Pixar?
No.
Would Lucas have ever sold him Lucas? They would say, not to you.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So we've got more we're going to talk about on Reedy Creek and the implication of power. In the discussion of, okay, well, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bob Iger, who do we want to be able to control an entire city? Let's talk about that. So we'll get to that a little bit later.
And it will continue to be a healthy business. But like our other businesses, it has relied on a business model that is not as robust as it used to be.
But you think there's enough revenue to pay for
yes.
Rich is wrong on this. I'm
not sure there was anything right about what you just read.
Oh, that's going to come up on the shareholders call, I'm sure.
But I'm not getting advice from I like him, but I'm not getting advice.
Again, emphasizing that was a Walt Disney Company shareholder that he just repudiated on stage here.
Right now.
I think he just realized that, by the way, in that moment.
Yeah.
Want to migrate it from the old business model to the new business model. And when you think about it, streaming is perfect for sports because you can create a destination that has infinite shelf space. You can put not just one, that's not one program and one program slot and one.
Hey, Culture, do you have any comments on this particular point?
Let him finish.
Okay.
Channel, but you can, as we do on ESPN Plus right now, you can choose 50 different sports going on at one point, at one time, easy to use, and obviously lends itself to mobile. It lends itself to games like fantasy. We believe it will lend itself to sports betting, which we're also going into. I think it's very unique. We're in a very unique position. All we are doing right now, as we prepared to bring it in a much more direct-to-consumer direction, which is to launch it as its own app, is basically looking for partners, just talking with partners that could actually enhance the prospects.
You ready there, Culture? Because
I'm Disney he's indicating, and this is something we've talked about for a while. He's indicating that they are getting back into the fast market in a big way. So they're also going to divide all these things up into ways that they can monetize them in multiple manners, not just with apps and things like that, or even pay-per-view stuff, but they're going to monetize through basically the same structure as linear television, using these fast things. And Disney's also beginning to participate in a bunch of aggregators. We're starting to see that happen. We've just seen a deal between Apple, although I'm not sure if this is public yet, between Apple and Paramount. So we're going to start seeing.
Yes, that is public. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, but these are the kinds of things that Disney's been moving towards. But I don't know, Jonas. You think we're gonna have a fast version of ESPN? Do you think we're gonna have a pay-per-view version? Do you think we'll have both? I think we'll have both.
I think we'll have both. But also the fact that Monday Night Football, for the first time ever, did two streams at the same time, two different games.
Yeah.
And they're testing this out to see if they can make more money by selling two different games at the literal same time, using that same branding for Monday Night Football. Obviously, there's a finite number of games, but there's also a finite number of eyeballs that are interested in each particular game.
Yeah, and I think
can you explain what you mean by fast, real quick?
Yeah, it's free advertised supported streaming.
That's when you get a
like
essentially.
Yeah,
like
it's Tubi, Pluto. Yeah, but Disney's trying to do this in a broader way. And as Jonas pointed out, with Monday Night Football, you're going to be able to see a game that's on ESPN, but you'll see a game also on ABC. That you can watch. It could be the same game, could be different ones. There's a lot of things happening right there. In fact, I'm doing a story segment, I think. On that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to serve you up for there.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this. The more people are aware that ESPN is Disney, and the more people are mad at the Disney brand, and the more people are aware of how much of their cable bundle is going to ESPN, whether they watch it or not.
Yeah.
Will they demand their cable people to take that out of the mix and take that price out of the mix too? And won't that limit their revenue that way?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Ghost, because they're going to be pulling. They're probably never fully exit ESPN from the linear networks. No. But right now, the ESPN DTC streaming service, this is a different streaming service from ESPN Plus, will be launching sometime in, I think, 2025. And so all this question about was Disney Plus profitable and is Hulu profitable? Hulu probably was profitable. They're going to start this whole thing over again with ESPN DTC by charging $35 a month in order to get access to something a little bit closer to the actual ESPN experience, where you're getting football games and things like that. So this is in order for them to be able to split the pie a little bit more with their larger investors, if those are coming in, or maybe even enough of that pie to be able to directly split it with the NBA or the NHL or MLB.
The sports fans will pay for it, but everybody else who was paying for it, whether they wanted it or not, won't.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's probably closer to somewhere between $10 to $15 per customer when it's on traditional cable. The carriage deals have leaked in the past, and it was $9 several years ago. It's probably gone up since then.
It's always been the biggest piece of the pie, though.
Yeah, it's
Right.
always
Been the number one portion of your bundle.
and it's also been something that every cable customer's paid for, not even people that didn't have the bundle. So no, I would say that look, some of the pricing ideas that they had behind it, an ESPN app where you could access everything, not ESPN Plus or any of the garbage they have now, but that app would be closer to $30 a month than it would be $15 a month. So,
yes, and I'll also add, since we kind of stated this, the customers who are not watching sports, we're being forced to subscribe to ESPN in order to subsidize the people who did watch sports, who are the voracious viewers who will get angry when those carriage disputes happen.
Yeah, remember, I mean, this is such a valuable property for them that Comcast tried to buy Disney just for ESPN. People know the value of this product, but $30 a month, that's quite a bit right there. It will differentiate their portfolio from something like that.
It's amazing how far it's come. Does anybody remember the very beginnings of ESPN when they had such fascinating sports as Australian rules football?
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I always used to joke and say, they're going to get the contract for full contact tiddlywinks pretty soon. It was all garbage sports because the big guys wouldn't talk to them because they were making it with the networks.
Right.
But things have changed.
I loved ESPN 8, the Ocho.
Thank you for tuning in. Of course, we release videos every single day here on That Park Place, including a daily breakdown every weekday, going through entertainment, streaming, theme parks, and sometimes video games. In our next Breaking Bob, we'll be talking about Bob Iger and Nelson Peltz, and you won't want to miss that one. Consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.